Hi, it's Lee, and welcome to the Tesla Economist. I know I was saying early on this year that Tesla could hit 300, and we were just about got there, and earlier than I thought. And that was before the finalised Cybertruck debut. Or, of course, the Highland, an event that I seem to think is more important than most. And in my opinion, the biggest factor is this 66 kilowatt hour battery potential that Tesla will be hitting 300 miles of range with the standard version. A measurement that is highly underrated because it's dwarfed by the gigantic Cybertruck, and any sighting of that towers over some boring battery specification. But that's how the market is. It's irrational, at least in the short term, as are the enthusiasts and investors, far more concerned about the Cybertruck too. But if Tesla have 10% larger batteries and reduced costs by 10% for the Model 3 and eventually the Model Y, then that's going to do more in the financials than even a Cybertruck in volume production. Actually, we should probably do those financials sometime. Anyway, I think we're going to get another wave of AI after these Nvidia numbers and expectations that have absolutely smashed the market. With Nvidia up over 8% pre-market at one stage and Tesla up almost 2%, I would guess this rally is not yet over, although the Jackson Hole meeting will probably put a hold on the party just for now. But if we get an inkling of rates on the way down, and there's another AI boom coming, then everything is pointing to Tesla. Tesla had to make their own AI chips because Nvidia can't deliver enough. And as we know, according to Elon, Tesla is the number one AI company, further ahead than anyone else. And there are plenty of reasons to believe Elon on this. Okay, sure, Microsoft and others have ChatGPT and Google has Bard, of which I actually have more faith in than most. I'm sure Google will work it out, and it's more up to date than ChatGPT too. And although there are many new startups out there benefiting from this new AI technology, myself for one, with my startup Verbalate.ai, when we can translate any video into popular foreign languages with the best lip-syncing technology in the world. But these are all still relatively small in relation to a company like Microsoft or Google. How will the juggernauts really monetize their AI? Most likely in some form of advertising, like Google Search. But I'm not sure they have the best business model just yet. But it's still early days. My real point is, though, that Tesla do. Tesla certainly has its business model all sorted when it comes to AI. What is it? Well, it's huge. It's the replacement of human labor. FSD alone means we don't need to concentrate on our driving. It means we can create more value with our time when we're in the car going to our destinations, perhaps around 10 additional hours a week. How we utilize this time is up to us, whether we want to catch up on sleep, watch some YouTube, or do some coding on our laptops. There is no argument that this is of very high value, and certainly well worth in excess of $15,000, the current price of FSD. It is buying us more time in life that we can spend on not having to drive. Or on the extreme, if you're wealthy, it means you no longer have to pay for your driver, which would cost a fortune. But this is not the intended market. And this service is perhaps going to end up being worth a few $100s a month subscription. But the other side of this is effectively the replacement of labor. A driver-free taxi. Whenever you have a product that replaces labor, then it's always worth a fortune. Tesla can create their own version of Uber, except they get to keep all the revenue and don't have to share it with the Uber driver. This is obviously massive, and of course a Tesla is likely nicer than a typical Uber car too. Except of course the robotaxi can work more hours than an Uber driver. If each robotaxi could bring in $50,000 a year, which I think is likely pessimistic, going by Uber prices, and the fact that the robotaxi can drive more hours, and sure, those hours are not consistent, there isn't demand 24/7, but that would mean perhaps $50 billion of revenue a year per every million robotaxis. And the costs are very low for that vehicle when compared to an Uber or regular taxi. The costs will be even lower than a typical Model 3 if we're to expect this robotaxi to be a compact with around 50 kilowatt hour size battery. If Tesla reached 5 million robotaxis, then that's $250 billion a year on a service product. Although Elon's talking about making 5 million Gen 3 vehicles a year. So there'd be plenty of supply for such a network. The question is, what will demand be? Well, that's an easy fix. Tesla can just find a market clearing price. There's ample margin there to undercut Uber significantly. I'm sure most passengers would rather no driver and an entertainment system to watch Netflix, etc. on too. Thus, the product would be better. And like I said, a Tesla is nicer than a typical Uber or taxi. Will that be enough to offset how anxious many passengers may feel about the car driving itself? We'll have to find out. Of course, within time, passengers will become more confident in the AI's capabilities, and they will improve along the way. And there is perhaps the chance that robotaxis will become lower cost than owning your own car. Now, although AI will certainly take jobs, just like Tesla's robotaxis, just like the internet has, and we have so many e-commerce stores, well, there's still plenty of retail or services. In other words, these retail buildings are still standing and not vacant. There is still value in them. People still have jobs. But now everyone knows how to use the internet. Everyone is using the internet in their jobs and line of work. We have all had to level up. In my opinion, I think the same will be true for AI. If it is as big as we think it will become, at least soon, then I think people will just have to get to grips with it. Just like we all know how to use a computer. Can you imagine 30 years ago trying to teach your grandparents how to use Microsoft Word or Excel? But now grandparents these days are perfectly competent using the internet and computers for everything, and their smartphones too. Although there was a bit of a learning curve for some, they simply had no choice. This was the new world, and the benefits far outweighed the learning. I also think the same holds true for robots. Yes, Elon talks about what is even an economy with robot labor doing everything, but I disagree with him on this. Yes, it's okay to disagree with Elon, he is wrong about plenty, but sure, he's also certainly been right about plenty too, especially where it counts. For one, robots do not eliminate all scarcity, so therefore there is still an economy, as economics is literally about the allocation of scarcity. Unless robots can actually make more beachfront property in Malibu, we'll always have some form of scarcity. And humans will naturally want to think of other ways that they can be useful and create purpose in life. They will use AI and robots to leverage more ingenuity. The organic brain is always going to have qualities that a synthetic brain can never possess. I know we think of these AI robots as highly intelligent, sentient beings that will be able to do everything a human can, only faster, stronger, need less rest or charging, and way smarter with all the knowledge of the universe. But even if that is the case, I think it would still take decades to get close. And humans will learn to evolve with them, or perhaps Neuralink will help keep us ahead too. Either way, the future is not written, no matter how much Elon Musk tries to plan it his way. And people said the exact same thing about computers and the internet. Hey, even machines back in the Industrial Revolution. Yes, they do replace jobs, but they always create jobs too. The layman has to level up and get more educated and acquire more skills for different jobs, like going from using a shovel to a digger. The next level will be instructing some AI FSD digger what it needs to dig. Well, you get the idea. I don't believe that human labour needs to be superfluous. It's also not in our nature. We need purpose and validation. We don't want to be born into retirement. It would no doubt create mass depression. Anyway, we could certainly now see the start of another AI wave, and add to that Tesla launching new models, breaking ground on new factories. It's not unquestionable to consider perhaps all-time highs this year. Thanks for listening. Please hit the thumbs up and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter and talk to me on Patreon.